Then we will get going. Hi everyone, thanks for coming for today for the Autonomous Champions meeting. My name is I am showing her slide, but she has a personal conflict, so she won't be able to stay. So I'm going to moderate today. Today we have a couple of agenda items. First, talk about the autonomous feature updates, the features that are recently released. So we will give us an update about that. Then we will talk about our partnership with Informatica. As you can imagine, there's a lot of customers out there using Oracle or non-Oracle tools with the database. So our one of Informatica is one of the tools some of our customers are using. So our relationship is important with these third-party companies as well. So it will give us an update on that. And at the end, Mark will give us an update about the machine learning related feature functionalities. Before we start, I want to thank everyone who is coming here. And also I want to mention that our winter event for the Americas region is coming up. It is going to be in Miami on January 19 and 20. It is going to be a 2-day event. If you haven't already registered, you can do it. Let us know if you're interested. It is a good opportunity for our customers to get together, share their experiences in an open format, and meet with the development folks or management and provide your feedback directly to them, share ideas and exchange and network with each other who are doing similar stuff as you do. So it's generally the idea of these meetings are not like marketing events. They are these events are more for collaborative events that people openly share good and bad things. We don't only, since these are not marketing events, we want people to talk about their good and bad experience so that everybody can learn from each other. Development can from the customers, and we can all be successful and make the product better and make each other's lives easier. So I strongly recommend, if you haven't already done so, please take a look at the agenda, and if you have a chance to attend to the event in Miami on January 19-20. And if you are interested and want to get more information, please let us know. And with that, we will start with our first agenda item. Vivek is going to give us an update about the recent feature functionalities that are released. I am stopping the share so that Vivek can take over. Vivek?
Yes, Janet. I'll share my screen. Can you see my screen, Jimmy?
I can see your screen.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Vivek from Oracle Global Leaders Program team and part of Autonomous Database Product Management. So today I'll talk about some of the features that were released between the last Champions call and today. So this slide has all the features that I will be covering today. If there are any questions, please post these over the chat, and either me or Jamil would respond to these either during the session or probably after the session. So let me start with the very first feature for today, which is the cross-region refreshable clone. So until now, you could create a local refreshable clone of your production database, and these clones could be used for variety of purposes like reporting or for some UAT testing by disconnecting the refreshable clone for a brief period and again connecting it to the source. As I said, this was a local refreshable clone. Now we allow you to create a remote refreshable clone, which will be in a different region. Think of it like your business users are scattered across multiple regions. And for better user experience, you want to provide them access to a read-only database for reporting and analysis purpose. So this cross-region refreshable clone will allow you to create a read-only database local to your business users. So just like local refreshable clone, this remote clone can also be disconnected and opened in read-write mode for a brief period for any kind of UAT or functional testing. One other interesting use case of remote refreshable clone would be migrating your production database from one region to another region. This helps reduce the amount of downtime that would be otherwise needed. So just to give you a real life example, we did a similar migration for one of our customers in JPAC. The original migration plan needed a downtime of around 24 hours or so. With refreshable clone, we could accomplish the same within 5 to 10 minutes. So that's the power of, I mean, that's one of the benefit of remote refreshable clone. So how do I create a cross-region refreshable clone? It's pretty simple. So from the database console, I click on the create clone option and then select the refreshable clone type. My database is currently in Mumbai. So once I click on the drop down list for the preferred region, I can see the list of paired regions. So in this case, Hyderabad is paired to Mumbai. So I can select Hyderabad as a remote region, and then I can go and create the refreshable clone. You can now attach a network file system to a directory location in your autonomous database. This simplifies your data load operations. You can load the data from Oracle Cloud Infrastructure file storage or from any network file system within your on-premise data center. Now, this feature allows you to connect an existing legacy application to an autonomous database and use the file system to load and unload data. Further, it also allows you to analyze data from different sources in an autonomous database. The connection to this network file system is secured as it is either in your on-premise data center or within your private virtual cloud network. So a simple and faster way of moving an existing application to autonomous. Now for this, we use DBMS underscore cloud underscore admin API to either attach or detach a file system to a directory in your autonomous database. This should be run from admin user or from a user that has execute privilege on DBMS underscore cloud underscore admin. In this case, I have attached an on-premise network file system to my autonomous database. I can now read a file or write to a file onto this file system. We can do it using any PL SQL API that accepts a directory name. So for example, I can use UTL underscore file. I can use data pump export and import utility. And I can also use DBMS cloud. Okay, log file prefix and retention option. So now this particular feature provides you with more control over the naming convention of the log file and bad file tables that are created as a part of data loading process using dbms underscore cloud dot copy data. Now loading the data using copy data operation generates a log file table, and in case of rejected data, a corresponding bad file table is created as well. We did not had control over the naming convention of these tables, and therefore it was sometimes difficult to remember which table relates to which data load operation. Now we have introduced two additional parameters in DBMS underscore cloud dot copy underscore data to manage prefixes and retention periods for the log files and the bad file tables. The log prefix attribute, it specifies a string value that determines the prefix for the log file underscore table and bad file table. This will help you identify the log and the bad file table names. Similarly, we also allow you to set the log retention based on the values which is in days. The log file and bad file table would be retained for those number of days, and if not specified, it defaults to 2 days. Now, in this particular example, my log prefix is set to sales underscore 13th of December 2022, and the log retention is set to 7 days, which means the sales underscore 13th December 2022 dollar log and the bad file tables would be retained for 7 days. Improvements to cloud code repository. Now, currently, cloud code repository package provides different features such as repository management, file management, and SQL install. Now, DBMS underscore cloud underscore repo management routine allows you to manage cloud code repository branches by creating, listing, merging, or deleting branches in a repository. It is now possible to list commits in a branch in Cloud Code repository. Further, it also allows you to export the metadata DDL of all the objects in a schema with object filtering options. So you can filter your list based on the object name or object type. SQL install enhancement, it supports nested SQL script within the same repository. So we have enhanced a couple of features within the cloud code repository as well. Text index onto the object storage. Now, data lakes are a key part of current data management architecture with data stored across object store. Object store is ideal for storing data that is infrequently used but requires long-term storage. One of the optimized way of storing and accessing these long-term storage is to create an external table or an hybrid partition table within an autonomous database, which that points to the data into the object store. Now you can create a text index on files in object storage. This allows you to perform a word-based search across very large data sets in object store, like searching your data for text or using a wildcard search. These text indexes can also be refreshed periodically to ensure consistency between the indexes and new data uploads or data deletes. This refresh rate is configurable and it defaults to 5 minutes. In this example, I have an external table called emp underscore ext. So I create a text index with a refresh rate set to 10 minutes. And then probably I can, query the data based on the wildcard search. On the other features and enhancement, so simplified wallets for cross-region autonomous data guard. When you enable cross-region autonomous data guard, the wallet and connection string from the primary database will contain only the host name of the primary database, and the wallet and connection string from the remote database will contain only the host name of the remote database. So this applies for both instance and regional wallets. Now, we recommend configuring applications running in the primary region to use the wallet or connection string downloaded from the primary database and configuring the applications running in the remote region to use the wallet or connection string downloaded from the remote database. This means failover both your database and your mid-tier applications to the remote region for optimum performance and to minimize cross-regional latency. On customer managed keys with cross-region autonomous data guard. So cross-region autonomous data guard now supports customer managed keys. There are some special considerations when the primary instance is using a customer managed keys, or if you want to switch to use customer managed keys. So for example, you will have to replicate the vault and keys to the remote region. So please refer to the Oracle documentation for more details on this particular feature. Finally, some announcements around concurrency limits for each of the service names. Until now, the concurrency limits were predefined based on the number of base OCPUs. Concurrency limit for high was always fixed to 3. However, the concurrency limit for medium and low were purely based on the base OCPUs. So with or without auto scaling of OCPUs, these numbers were purely derived based on the base OCPUs. Now with auto scaling on, the concurrency limits of high, medium, and low have gone up by 3 times. So this table shows the calculation with and without the auto scaling. So on the right hand side, you can see the concurrency limit of high has gone up by 3 times. It used to be 3. Now with auto scaling, it is now set to 9. Same with medium and low. So with medium, it was 1.26 times the number of OCPUs, number of base OCPUs. Now it is 3.78 times the number of base OCPUs. So the concurrency limits for all the service names have gone up by 3 times. So that was it from my side. I'm done with it. So if there are any questions, I would be happy to respond. So yeah, over to you, Jamil.
Thanks, Vivek. Thanks for the update. Now Ed is going to talk about our partnership with Informatica. Floor is yours.
All right. Are you able to see my screen? Okay. So, hello, everyone. My name is Ed Zhou. I'm Vice President of Product Management at Oracle Database Organization. And my key responsibility working with our strategic partners, and Informatica certainly is one of them. Oracle has a pretty long history with Informatica, sometimes, well, very tight partners, sometimes not as much. But what we have done earlier this year in May timeframe, we actually relaunched our strategic partnership. And this is sort of both from engineering perspective as well as how we engage jointly with our customer perspective. We also named Informatica as a preferred partner for enterprise cloud data integration, data governance for data warehouse and lakehouse solutions on OCI. And that is because we do see quite a bit of our customers has a strong preference for Informatica product in the past on-prem and now in the cloud as well. And for engineering perspective, what we have done is to make sure Informatica's data integration, data governance cloud offering, which they call IDMC, which stands for Intelligent Data Management Cloud Service, that includes the traditional ETL functionality as well as data cataloging, data governance functionalities, all be able to run on OCI, so customer can use them on the OCI platform. We also make sure we optimize all those integration points with Oracle Autonomous Database, especially giving the Autonomous Database use wallets and different ways of access those data. So we have to optimize that and also optimize integrations with broadly Oracle data lakehouse kind of solution that includes object storage and so on. We also make the product now available on OCI Marketplace currently as a BYOL offering, but also long term you will see that as a private offer, which will be something that's new from Oracle OCI Marketplace perspective. In addition to that, both company has put together incentive programs. We also been working with global system integrators such as Accenture and Deloitte, both from the expertise perspective as well as on a funding perspective to help customer migrate onto cloud. At the end, you'll see as I go through some of the use case that our customers will be able to do more and leverage their existing expertise as well as the existing investment in Oracle database in Informatica and being able to migrate and modernize that onto OCI while reducing risk. So this is a good example of many of our joint customers. Many of our customers in the past been using Oracle EBS or PeopleSoft or JD Edwards and many other applications, and they're using Informatica's on-prem offering, which is called Power Center, to do ETL functionality, feed the data into Oracle database to create this data warehouse and being able to run analytic on top of that. Now, it's been working for years, but what we see now, this is not enough, both as customer moving from EBS onto Oracle Cloud applications, or they need to look at more data coming from different sources and so on and so forth. So they need to kind of go through a modernization effort, which is kind of what we have seen in many customer scenarios. Now it's moving from traditional on-prem Oracle database and move on to more cloud solutions, whether it's autonomous database, exact cloud service, and so on. And from Informatica side of it, they will be moving from traditional Power Center into intelligent data management cloud, both of them running on OCI environment. And to make it easier is that we have tools built for data migration, which again, you probably are very familiar with. And Informatica also have built tools to migrate their Power Center environments, the mappings, the metadata that sit within Power Center onto their IDMC in the cloud on OCI. They can do that about 90–95% automation. Both of us offer different type of services to help our customer move on to cloud. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we've been working with Informatica, both Informatica partners and Oracle partners, including Accenture and so on and so forth, to help provide both fundings as well as skill sets that are required to do the migration on the cloud. Now, in addition to sort of this migration modernization effort, what we have seen many customers is really looking at this as a holistic platform as they move on to cloud. They are looking at running Oracle SaaS applications, make sure they be able to extract those data using Informatica's cloud products for data integration, make sure the data quality is their data governance, lineage, and so on and so forth. So together, Oracle and Informatica actually offers this great cloud platforms for customers, both for running applications, but now also a data platform for analytics and data governance, if you will. So again, just kind of recap what I just said. In many of the customers, since our announcement, we have quite a few joint customer success on OCI, and we generally see kind of two steps in some ways. People start out with modernization, basically taking what they have on-prem, migrate on the cloud, leveraging Informatica's IDMC in the cloud and Oracle's ADB or ADW in the cloud and different analytic tools. And oftentimes, either they build a new lakehouse deployment, and again, leveraging some of the components from Oracle and some of the components from Informatica to really provide or build out this data platform. Let me go into a couple of examples. This is actually McGraw-Hill. I saw their logo earlier, but what they agree with us is that we can talk about it, but without actually using their names on the PowerPoint. So basically, in the McGraw-Hill case is that they gone through this migration process of migrating different modules from EBS onto the Fusion ERP. But at the same time, they continue to use parts of EBS running on OCI. And what they need to do is basically also modernize their data warehouse onto OCI that gets the data from a SaaS application, gets the data from EBS applications, and so on. So what they have done is basically deploy Informatica's IDMC secure agent, both actually in this case on-prem, because they continue to use Exadata on-prem, as well as on OCI in OCI Cloud, connecting that with ADB and Exa Cloud service, as well as object storage. So it's a great high performance kind of deployment. Again, being able to do analytics against sort of different data sources from EBS and SaaS applications. Moving along, this is ASEA Group. ASEA Group is based in Oman and is actually created by government to consolidate all the logistic operations within Oman country. That includes postal service, includes shipping service, included the logistic port operations, and so on. And by doing so, what they need is actually a data platform to be able to gather those data from all these different applications within different entities, and being able to provide a unified user interface in terms of data to be for customers, as well as being able to do unified analytics against all these different data, and being able to optimize operations, for instance, shipping operations, shipping maintenance, and so on and so forth. So what they have done is basically leverage Oracle components, as you can see in this reference architecture, for many of the functionalities, including data integration functionality, data streaming functionality, autonomous data warehouse. But laying on top of that, they are using Informatica's data governance, data catalog, and also master data management to, again, to build out this holistic solution for data platform. So as a summary, sort of, we've been talking with different analysts at IDC certainly do see this is a very natural pairing between two sort of data management and data applications companies working together to provide best of breed for our customer. And what we also have seen in many cases is that the Oracle customer and Informatica customers are oftentimes at the same sort of journey onto cloud, and therefore the toolings, the offerings, the partnership we are providing to our customer make that journey onto cloud, onto OCI much easier. Here are some additional resource. We have a reference architecture built. You'll be able to go to reference architecture, understand how it's working, and being able to actually deploy that Terraform onto OCI tenancy if you prefer to do so. That will include OACs and multiple components. And based on that, we also have built out a live lab, and you'll be able to get hands-on and try it out. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the secure agent is already available on OCI Marketplace. And then we have a whole lot of documentations that you'll be able to use to learn more about it and deploy this joint solution together. With that, I'll open up to questions. Any questions for anyone? Let me see anything in the chat.
There's one question in the chat.
And I would have another one, Jamil.
Sure.
So the McGraw-Hill one is OBIEE, not BIOB, but they do use, they did migrate OBIEE onto OAC. And then they also have, in addition to that, also have custom data warehouse.
We have other customers, team working, migrating their BI apps modules to autonomous. So if you need
We
more
have
information,
customers have gone through BI app migrations onto IDMC, and it kind of depends on how much are they, how much of DAC do they use. We also have been working with a partner called Tech System that have built accelerators specifically for DAC. If you're familiar with BI app, it has Oracle database, it has Informatica's Power Center, it has BIEE, but also what's called Data Warehouse Administrating Console, which does the workflow definitions, dynamic parameter management, and so on. And that piece, we have been working with this partner called Tech System to have an accelerator to migrate that onto Informatica.
Hi, this is Tim Vlama. So we have quite a bit of experience doing the BI apps migrations.
Okay.
Is there someone specifically that we should follow up with?
You can follow up with me. We have a whole series of discussion on that area. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ed. We'll follow up.
Yeah. In terms of migration, the database part, Tim, you can contact me as well. We have other customers who has done migrations with autonomous, so there are some best practices and certifications in terms of BI apps versions and then the tooling around it. So you can contact me about the database part of this.
Excellent, thank you.
Can you hear me? I would have another question, Jörg, from IDS.
Okay, go ahead.
The question is, how do you position yourself in the term of data cataloging? I think Informatica has a strong solution there with Axon, and you have another one with the enterprise metadata management. Yeah, some words maybe to that area.
Yeah. So Oracle has in the cloud on OCI, we have OCI data catalog. And our goal with the OCI data catalog is primarily to manage Oracle as data assets. So what we see Informatica's enterprise catalog will be sort of more hybrid, will be able to get Oracle data assets as well as assets could be sitting on Azure or AWS and so on. So it becomes catalog of a catalog. We are working on integrating OCI data catalog with Informatica's enterprise catalog. Does that answer your question?
Okay, so you see it as coexistence instead of having one or the other.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? No. Okay, Ed, thank you very much for coming in and sharing the stuff. Now we will go to the next topic, which is machine learning and mark learning. Thank you, Ed. Thank you.
All right, I trust you can share my see my screen.
Yes, you can.
All right, so great to be here to talk to you today about Oracle Machine Learning, what's new, and give you an update on some new features and our roadmap. So, from a new features perspective, this is what we've done really the past 2 years. Just want to call out a couple of things that since last March, we introduced OML for Pi Universal Client, which means that you can connect to Autonomous Database and Oracle Database on 19C and 21C to work with OML for Pi. In April, we introduced a SQL API to allow you to invoke user-defined Python functions on Autonomous Database as part of the overall embedded execution capability. August was OML for R with Autonomous Database, and so we're enabling that with OML notebooks. And what we're on the cusp of announcing. It's actually out in many of the regions, so you're perhaps some of the first to know that OML Notebooks is now supporting third-party Python and R packages on Autonomous Database. So just a little bit more of the overall product family. Wanted to highlight this because now we can have all of the OML components available across Autonomous Database for SQL, Python, and R. OML Notebooks is supporting the SQL, PL SQL, Python, and R, as well as Markdown interpreters. And there's even a new one for Conda, which I'll say in a moment. The AutoML UI for a no-code model building and evaluation and deployment. And OML services with a REST interface for dealing with model management and deployment for real-time applications. And of course, our original Oracle Data Miner no-code sort of drag and drop user interface being available on Autonomous Database now. You can use it in connection with Autonomous Database, and of course it's been available for Oracle Database and Database Cloud Service. Now, for the OML for R, if you're interested in learning more about that, we just completed a webinar. This was sponsored by the R Consortium, and so I would encourage you to check out this session that talks about using R at scale on database data, and we were highlighting OML for R on Autonomous Database, so you can see sort of live demos on that. This is sort of what we're looking at, saying in the OML Notebooks environment, we have OML for R enabled. You specify a %R interpreter, load the ORE library, and then you're off using that. And we've created over 30 example template notebooks that are available through Autonomous Database and also on our GitHub repository, and I'll provide some links to that a little bit later. For the embedded Python execution, the idea behind this with the SQL API is to allow users to define their Python functions and store them in the database. But they can not only do this from Python, but also from SQL, so that they might have data scientists or other team members providing the solutions in Python to an administrator on a production system, and then they can store those in the database using, say, PyQ script create, then invoking the Python script in an engine that is spawned by the database environment using PyQ table eval. In this particular example, we're going to run this function, pass in some data to it, give it some arguments, and get a result, which is simply going to acknowledge that it completed successfully in XML format. Now, we also have the custom third-party packages. I said I'd say a little bit more about that. We're expanding Autonomous Database as a platform for data science and machine learning. So we're supporting third-party packages by allowing administrators to install these and manage these in Conda environments. You probably are aware that Conda is an open source package and environment management system. So we're creating these environments, uploading them to object storage, and then users will download those and activate them to take advantage of that. They're also running in separate containers so that there's independence and security between the database instance and where these third-party packages are running. And this supports not only the use within OML notebooks in generic Python and R interpreters, but more specifically with embedded execution so that you can run OML for Py and R from SQL and REST APIs. What this looks like here is an example of where you're logged in as an administrator, and we're creating a Python Conda environment where we identify the name that we'd like to give it, the packages we'd like to include, and then we upload that to object storage. And we do the exact same thing in the R case if we wanted to use packages like Forecast or ggplot2. Now, when we go to use these, the user simply has to download the named package and activate that. And then they're able to use the additional functionality on Autonomous Database. So this is really a very and much anticipated capability for Autonomous Database. As for the roadmap, so this is giving the sort of extended coming 12 months picture of features and capabilities. I'm going to focus on a couple of these in the subsequent slides just to make sure that we keep within the time frame here. But in the case of OML monitoring, this is one where we're looking to expand the ability to deal with the data and model lifecycle support. So data drift and model drift, these are ways of looking at how is the data changing? How is perhaps the model accuracy or the distribution in the predictions changing? And can we notify users of this? So they essentially will start with a data set as a starting point, and then using additional data sets, comparing statistics against that original data set, and then flagging that for users to take action, which may involve rebuilding the models. Now, in the case of model drift detection, this will be for in-database models first, and we'll follow that up with ONIX format models as well. There's also a move to make users aware of bias and fairness in the data and models that they're using. And so in this case, we want to make sure that there's some way of indicating that certain groups or individuals might be at a disadvantage based on the data that is actually being used to build models, or how the models are predicting results as well. And so being able to flag this and allow users to address that, or at least be aware of that, is extremely welcome. Now, in the case of OML services, as I mentioned, OML services is the REST interface for dealing with real-time model scoring. And what we're doing here is saying we want to go one step further. We want to have the same REST interface be available for doing batch scoring as well, because real-time involves perhaps singleton or small batch scoring, where small can mean maybe 10 to 100 scores at a time, but batch would be for much larger jobs. And for this, we'll need to have asynchronous job support as well, so that these long-running activities don't block the client while being run. In the case of the AutoML UI, this being the no-code user interface for automated machine learning, we're going to extend the capability that we have within database models for this integrated text mining to the AutoML UI. So there can be columns that contain unstructured text, and we will do the feature extraction from that, the tokenization, and combine that with the other structured data in an automated fashion. We currently support notebook scheduling, the ability to run notebooks as a singleton or on a recurring schedule. And we've had the request to do this also for the experiments in the AutoML UI. So that's something to look forward to as well. For improving overall performance and scalability on high cardinality classification targets, we've done some optimizations to the algorithms to improve that. And finally, we want to expand the support for machine learning techniques such as classification and regression, which are currently supported with the AutoML UI, to time series forecasting. And I'll say a little bit more about that when we talk about 23C features, because the 23C feature is going to be enabling this. OML for Pi, datetime and integer support. So with the introduction of datetime, you'll be able to manipulate tables and views with these data types, as well as perform operations on those. And this will also tie into time series forecasting models. We'll be extending the AutoML pipeline, so it matches more closely what's going on with the AutoML UI itself, so that you have programmatic access to this. Users are interested in using the no-code user interface, but others also want to have that same functionality available directly from Python. Today, we support the algorithm selection, feature selection, and model tuning as explicit functions in OML for Pi, but this will take it one step further. There's also a desire to be able to deploy in-database models to OML services programmatically. And so this will be a nice capability, because instead of having to export the model manually and then incorporate that into OML services through the REST interface, they can do this directly from Python. And a similar capability for ONIX model support, where you've built a model using perhaps native Python, you can export that model in ONIX format and then programmatically deploy that to OML services as well. Now, for some of the enhancements to database 23C, we have those that are just inherent in database 23C, and we want to make those available to OML customers as well. So we have Boolean data type support, just a natural extension of the data type supported in the database, 4K columns per table, and this is really important for those customers and users who have a wide range of features. We've had some that said, we've got over 2,000 features for customers, and we'd like to be able to analyze those all at once. And so this is something that will expand that set, as opposed to what we do today for wide data, more than 1,000 columns, is to use nested table functionality. And there are a number of other features, but I'd like to focus on a few here that are algorithm specific at this point. So we have enhanced in-database algorithms. The explicit semantic analysis supports this text analytics feature extraction. So we're going to integrate the ESA algorithm with the integrated text processing for the underlying algorithms that I mentioned earlier. Before, we were using exclusively Oracle text to support this. Now, with explicit semantic analysis, it allows us to go one step further. And another capability is doc2vec, where we want to have dense projections with embeddings that can be used in other use cases. And in general, this is going to enhance the ability to deal with unstructured data in combination with structured data much more easily for users. So let's take the case of maybe you have call center rep notes on customers or physician notes on patients, and you'd like to combine that with other data. Well, this is a way to accomplish that. For generalized linear model classification, we're adding additional link functions, probit, cloglog, and cowshit, and these are really going to enhance support for binary targets and predictors with varying properties. XGBoost, we already support that for classification and regression. We've expanded the set of capabilities to even further support survival analysis. And another aspect is to do feature interaction constraints and monotonic constraints to limit variable interactions. And this gives data scientists more control over how those interactions are being utilized. And the goal of this, of course, is to increase model accuracy overall. And this can be perhaps as wide-ranging as equipment failures or healthcare outcomes. And then last here, the exponential smoothing, and this is where I referred to earlier what we're going to be using to support the AutoML UI time series forecasting capability, where the current exponential smoothing algorithm is quite powerful and has a wide range of hyperparameters that allow users to tune what's going on. So we want to automate that process and make it easier to produce better forecasting models without having to do the usual manual or exhaustive search, which can be very time consuming, not to mention compute intensive as well. And so this will not only help non-expert users get better value from, or better models from their exponential smoothing efforts, but also data scientists' productivity is enhanced because they don't have to do a lot of this stuff manually. And the last enhancement I'd like to talk about is time series regression. And this is a capability that really combines several features of the in-database machine learning to provide a significant new capability for time series regression. You can imagine, as we have on the right here, a meter that is being read periodically, and we'd like to understand, what is the forecast for that meter going forward? And we might have other time series data like temperature that's being used. There could be multiple such time series. Then we have structured data like or indicator flag variables. Certain events have occurred, or a holiday is there, or there's other just structured data that you want to incorporate. So what we're going to do in this case is take the time series data and do some feature generation, doing backcasts and forecasts for each of these time series, and then building a regression model automatically to predict our target, in this case, meter reading from that. So this is a much more complex capability that is being made simple by in-database machine learning. And so for more information, you can check out our webpage, obviously, blogs on various topics for Oracle machine learning, the GitHub repository, itself has the notebooks, has scripts in Python, R, and SQL that you can take a look at. Our office hours, certainly would encourage you to join us for those, where we talk about all things machine learning. And then the live labs with the Oracle environment on Autonomous Database. We have a live lab called OML Fundamentals. And this workshop introduces you to the SQL, the R and the Python interfaces, as well as AutoML UI and OML services. And there are other live labs as well. For documentation, this will give you an entry point to all of the OML components that we've talked about here. And so with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Hey, Mark, it's Tim Vlamis. Real
Hi, Tim.
quick, on the third-party R package management, do we have to worry about release management for the versions of R, or is that kind of taken care of?
For essentially the packages, there are a set number of repositories you can work from. And
Okay.
so with that, it will be tied to the versions of Python and R that we're working, so those are available for
Got
you.
it. And then real quick, on the AutoML, does time series have seasonality as a selection or not?
Yes,
Okay, thanks.
sure.
Any other questions for Mark? Seems that there is none. So Mark, thank you for coming in and presenting the contents. We recorded the session, and also we will sharing the link with the attendees. And for everyone, thanks for coming in today, and see you next time. Thank you.